everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, if you like what you see, please feel free to like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, as always. Today, we are going to be building a sprint block. So my boy and I have been getting into BMX. We've been doing it now since about August of last year. And as we get more and more competitive and more serious, we are looking for some more tools to help become better. And so one of the biggest things that everybody says you can do is sprints. For us, it's kind of hard to do because we don't have much of an area for us to just be able to go ride, build a dirt track in your backyard or anything like that. So we kind of hang out in the street or do it in our driveway. One of the tools that will help us out is a sprint block. They do make them online. They're very well made, well constructed. They are probably worth everything that you pay, but they are still pricey, coming at about $250 if you were to get it. Now, I highly recommend one. I have nothing bad to say about them. You can find a link to the actual sprint block training device below in the comments. But today, I took an idea from the Drivetrain channel, which is another BMX rider out of the Richmond area, and decided that I'm going to make my very own sprint block. So for my sprint block, super cheap. So far, the only thing that I have spent any money on are some cabinet shelf rollers or sliders or whatever you may call them. This was $10 at the local hardware store. And I'm gonna try to see if we can use these to basically make the sprint block motion slide back and forth. And so I have a lot of random 4x4s, 2x4s laying around the garage, so I'm not gonna have any expenses in that wood. But my idea, or at least the concept, is to take this on the miter saw, cut it at an angle, put the sliders on the angle, and then make sure that the top still remains flat, but as I go and I pull back on the bike, or I pull my hips to the bar, I should say, it will be able to slide down with my foot before I begin to pedal away. So that is the intent. If you look at the video right now, you'll see that as I start, when I pull my hips to the bar, I'm actually dropping my left foot just a little bit before I pedal forward. I've watched a couple other videos and this seems to be pretty consistent with what I see other people, which is why I think it's important to have that slight angle at the 2x4 that is here. My only concern with this is that when I'm trying to balance on top of the sprint block itself, is that when I put any sort of weight on it, it's going to want to have the tendency to automatically slide down while I'm just kind of getting situated on the bike. We're going to have to see if using 2 of these rollers will be enough to make sure that it holds in place, and then we'll go from there. If it's not enough, then we'll make some provisions and maybe we can add a spring or something else to help keep that block flat and up top on the sprint block before we start to pedal off. I'm gonna get the miter saw out. I'm gonna cut this at an angle, probably a 45-degree angle to get started. Install some of the sliders and then set it for the appropriate height and we'll see if it works out. If it does, then I just built something for 15 bucks with tax. Sweet.
So 45-degree angle would have been way too steep of an angle, so I took my level. I did 16 inches from the top of the corner down to the bottom because that's how long the cabinet door sliders are. I drew a line and that's where I'm going to cut.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss, that's fact, taking big swings, bitch, hand me the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light, ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel, I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real, but how's it supposed to feel? 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 wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't playing no games.
All right, so here we are. Able to get everything mounted up as I was hoping it would be. Got it sitting flat. And then obviously the angle kicks it back downward. So the part that I'm not sure if it will work, you kind of see if it's not latched in, it'll just fall back. So it kind of latches up there. I have a feeling it's not going to be strong enough when you start to put some weight on it. It's going to want to inherently just slide down. So I think I'm going to have to figure out some sort of spring or some sort of contraption to just kind of keep it up in place until the weight of throwing my hips forward kind of pushes it down. But now we're just going to mock up some wood blocks and see where it sits, and then we'll go from there. All right, it looks like that's the combination of wood that I need. Just got to cut everything to length, screw it together, and then give myself a good starting block. I'll probably do two 2x4s instead of one 4x4, just to make sure that I can make it work for my boy as well and remove a 2x4 if required.
Balance. Yeah, I do balance. I do balance. Yeah, Daddy. I try.
So after a few trial runs, I will say that it's relatively successful. I think what we're gonna have to do is go get some eyelets, do an eyelet here, an eyelet here, and then put a spring in to help bring it back to center, and it'll also help control it and keep the block up a little bit as well. I think after we manage to do the springs, it will be a pretty solid setup and won't be an issue. The completed project. All in all, I spent about $13 for the cabinet sliders. I spent $1.68 for the eyelets, and I bought the springs for like $3.50. So less than 20 bucks. Automatic return. Always gonna reset. Let's see it in action.